In 1955, the triumphal polio vaccine, manufactured by Cutter Laboratories Incorporated, Dr. Salk caused widespread cases of polio in the Midwest. The Cutter incident and tragedy was a precursor and cause of today's anti-vaccination views that affect kids all over the U.S. There are key events that have led up to today's current anti-vaccination movements, things like the tragic Cutter incident and the vaccine developed by Albert Sabin in cooperation with the USSR scientists during the Cold War. 600,000 cases of polio are reported each year before the introduction of full use of the polio vaccine. The hope of people like Sabin and Salk was to one day see polio eradicated from the face of the earth. Unfortunately, polio is still around thanks to the fear and confusion brought upon anti-vaccination views. Poliomyelitis is a disease that is caused by three viruses. Polio itself causes paralysis ranging from the mild symptoms of a common cold to the extent where one is no longer able to breathe on their own due to paralysis. Polio is spread through contact with those who already have the disease due to poor sanitation. Diseases usually enter the mouth and then proceeds to make its way into the bloodstream. This this led to great fear of polio, which led parents to separate the kids from other kids and ostracization of those who had polio. Paralysis of the limbs begin when these lesions from polio occur on the nervous system. Those begin when the poliovirus starts attacking the central nervous system. Those with a mild case of polio will have common cold-like symptoms that will clear away in 1 to 2 symptoms. During that time, they would be put in isolation where they could spread the disease. Those with a major case, as defined by when the poliovirus has attacked the central nervous system, out of those numbers, half will make a full recovery. The 50% will have some sort of small disability, and half of those will have permanent disabilities. Those with paralysis that affected muscles that help them breathe were put on an iron lung, which is the only means of survival for those with paralysis that the lung is. Of 6 polio vaccines, this disease was nearly eradicated in the U.S. that made a comeback in 2018. There are many people who are against vaccines, despite the many cautionary tales like his son or daughter got polio. It was the worst fear for a parent during the polio epidemic of the 1930s, living with paralysis for the rest of your life, coping with day, coping with day in, day out, and even was even worse, especially for those who had extreme cases of paralysis that forced them to use an iron lung for the rest of their lives. Tom Domingue was 8 years in 1945 when he had caught polio. His paralysis was mild compared to others. When I got home, I had a back brace and 2 legs, and I could barely move my head back and forth. From this point onwards, that was a quote, and from this point onwards, I continue reading back. Like thousands of other children that had caught polio, he now faced the challenge of living while paralyzed. There are risks that people who don't believe in vaccination face when they decide to vaccinate the children. Tom's mother had to do everything for him when he was young. It was only thanks to his stepfather that he had started to rehabilitate, to start to walk again. When it came to polio, most people were confused on how the disease worked and spread. It led to a great deal of fear when it came to polio. It caused many parents to take extreme measures to ensure the kid would not succumb to polio. Kids were only allowed to play with their closest friends, only as their parents made sure they did not have polio. Those who already had polio were paralyzed or ostracized from the community, not even allowed to socialize with other kids in fear that they spread the disease further. This is what parents who are against vaccination put in their kids for the chance of being paralyzed or worse, deaf. One has to question the morality of these parents who risk their kids' lives in their righteous anti-vaccination movement. These parents believe that they are saving these kids from a terrible fate of having autism or other mental issues, which in reality is far from the truth, though they continue influencing more parents online to do the same. A study was done on vaccine misinformation on the web. Over 71% of results from the Google.com vaccination search were classified as anti-vaccination. Many parents go on to the web to search for a variety of things, but at the top of the list is medical information. What to do if your child is sick but not enough to warrant a doctor's appointment. Or wanted to learn more of a particular disease. If they were to start to search, or the key work vaccination. More than half of what appears will be misleading. The source of these parents look at may contain information that might lead these parents down the deadly path of the anti-vaccination movement. This fear notion that the vaccines cause harm to children who receive this is just logical and compound from events like the Qatar incident and the saving polio vaccine, which was developed to the Russians during the Cold War.